Thanks for tuning in, subscribers, Star Wars Vintage fans, Battlestar Galactica fans, toy historians from all over the place. So this is a really cool little story that, well, it's actually starts with a bit of a tragedy, but this is the reason why the very famous rocket firing Boba Fett, which we all have heard about. We've seen record prices dropping $1.4 million for the rocket fair, and everyone's seen the legend of the rocket fair, J Slot, L Slot. We all know it was supposed to be a mail away that was supposed to come out for Star Wars Vintage for the first 12 figures. And first 20 figures actually, sending in proofs of purchase, and it was supposed to be a mail away offer to get a rocket firing Boba Fett. Now there's all kinds of card backs, some of the 20 back G's and H's, and I'll get some stills up of all the promotional material that was around for that rocket firing Boba Fett back in 1978, and I think to early 79 as well before it was cancelled. So it was advertised absolutely everywhere that you send off, I think it was 5 proof of purchases for a rocket firing Boba Fett, which was going to be sent to you in the mail. Now there was that was a massive campaign, and it's absolutely plastered everywhere, store displays. Like I said, I'll get stills and I'll litter them around the video so you can check out some of the advertisements. I'm sure you guys are very well aware of it, but yeah, it was canned in 1979. It didn't happen. So just mysteriously, when people received their figures they'd sent away for, it was Boba Fett with a fixed rocket, and there was a little letter saying, and I'll get a still of that as well, a little letter saying, this is the Boba Fett, which said, I believe it mentions safety reasons, or does it not? This could be edited. I'm going to edit the hell out of this video. So yeah, so it just came with a little leaflet, and it said, this is the Boba Fett. Apologies for not having the removable rocket as advertised. Something along the lines of, I don't know word for word, but I will pop it up here so you guys will see it. But it more or less says, if you're not happy with this product, let us know and we'll exchange it for any other figure in the Star Wars line. So that was it. But the reason for it was this nasty little bugger here. So this is the Mattel's vintage Battlestar Galactica Cylon Raider. So it's a very cool spaceship. I know a lot of you guys, I'm sure, are familiar with Battlestar Galactica. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this toy line because it wasn't huge. But this is the Cylon Raider. It came with a little Cylon, which is cool. I've got the box. I just happened to have one for sale. I'm selling it for someone on consignment, as a matter of fact. So I thought, I know the story kind of. So I'll tell the story because I'm not sure if everyone knows it. So this bad boy here was released. And it had these little wings that open up, which unveil where the missiles are, and that one just launched by itself. So that just kind of stole my thunder. It's got 2 rockets or missiles that fire. So there are 2 little buttons on the sides here, and they're like the projectile missiles. They actually come off pretty full on. So I'll launch one into my hand now. So they actually come out quite aggressively. So these little bad boys here are the culprits, man. So in 1978, a poor little kid, a 4-year-old child, swallowed one of these and later died in hospital. There was actually another one. I think there was another quite a serious case as well, where a young child, I'm not sure of his age, but a young child got this caught in his somewhere in his breathing pipe or whatever. He had it removed surgically and he was okay, but that was another quite a serious choking hazard that happened from this vehicle, from these firing projectile rockets. The kid's name was, I think, Robert Jeffrey Warren, 4-year-old kid, and he passed away in hospital. Very sad. Obviously a very sad story, but anyways, because of that, Mattel recalled this vehicle, and the entire range, so there were 4 vehicles that had missiles that fired. They were the Colonial Stellar Probe, the Colonial Scarab, and the Colonial Viper. So they all had firing missiles. They recalled these, and there was a recall letter. I'll get a still of that up there as well, because I found that recently. They recalled them and made them non-rocket firing, non-projectile launching kind of thing. And I actually got the, which one have I got? I got the Colonial Stellar Probe here. Actually got one of these at the moment. And this is the later version without the launching missiles. So the missiles kind of, it's pretty lame, but they had to do something. The missiles kind of just click in, and when you push the button, they just go forward about, what is it, half a centimetre if you're lucky. they stay in the launcher. So this one's got 2 on the sides and this one at the front as well. They stay in the launching area and the button's on the front top there. And instead of actually projecting and firing, they just go out a little bit. So this is the later one when they recalled it and then they re-released it with the non-launching missiles. So this was pre the recall. You had the option of the owners were sent a letter to say, please return it and we'll exchange it, etc. And you had the option of it. So obviously a lot of people kept them, and there's still a few of these. There's still quite a few of these in existence. It's not incredibly rare, but you don't see it as much as the others with the projectile missiles. So look, it's a shame because it's actually a gorgeous little vehicle. I'm a big Battlestar fan too. There's obviously not a lot of toys for the line. I actually like the modern Battlestar series as well. That went for quite a long time, and the story kept changing. And I'll get off on a tangent here, but I thought it was a great story. I really liked it, but there wasn't a lot of toys from that either, I don't think. But I like the Battlestar story. I always have. Very cool. But yeah, this vehicle was recalled, and they pretty much shaved it down to non-firing missiles. So because of this bad boy and that sad, very tragic story of a 4-year-old child who lost his life because of swallowing that stupid little red missile, ironically the same colour as a Rocket Fett would have been, Boba Fett never happened, man, and we are limited to just a few short numbers of those L and J slot Fetts that are cruising around, bringing in a record price every time they sell. They used to go for 100k. Next thing you know, they're going 200k, and they just keep escalating. There's not many of them around. The demand is so crazy for it. It's such a premium item, and Boba Fett, in general, Boba Fett's probably one of the most popular characters in this whole Star Wars universe. And then you got the limited run of it, the story behind it, and so much advertising for it being a mail away, then it being canned. It's such a hot item. Like I said, the last one sold on Golden. I think it was $1.34 something or other million US. So you're looking at $2 million Australian dollars for a rocket firing Fett. It was graded. I think it was an 85. It was a beautiful example. Obviously, I think it was the nicest graded example of a Boba Fett. So a rocket firing Fett. So quite crazy indeed. And as I look at the instructions, because these Battlestar vehicles came with one set of instructions and it was generic to all the vehicles. So it had the Cylon Raider, and then it's got all the Scarab, and then the Viper and the Stellar Probe. And on this set of instructions, it's got the missiles. So this very vehicle here, the one I've got, the Stellar Probe here. On the instructions, I'll do a better picture because you probably can't see this, but on the instructions it displays this is having the removable missiles. So like I said, this is the safer version they re-released later with non-launching missiles. So the history behind it is so cool. It's tragic, I must say, a 4-year-old child has died. I mean, I can't imagine that. I've got 4 kids myself, so it's a horrible thing to have happened. But the whole course of toy history, more or less, was changed because of that one incident. Really, it's quite amazing because that Boba Fett would have gone on to be such an iconic toy. Who knows what numbers that would have been produced in, because it was very popular at mail away. You're not going to get a time machine in an alternate universe, but it would be bloody cool to see how many of it were released and the kind of value it held. And obviously the rockets would have gotten lost. The slots would have been broken, the mechanism been broken, so it probably would have still commanded a decent amount, that figure, but we'll never know, will we? That's the mystery of it, is it all? That's the legend of it all, isn't it? The legend of the rocket firing Fett that never happened. Incredible. They did try, so there are stories also that it failed Kenner's internal testing for the launching mechanism, and this had nothing to do with it. But a lot of people don't believe that, and I think that's pretty weak as well. I wouldn't have thought they would have gone to that much effort with the advertising of that rocket firing Fett without having already done some internal testing for them to go and fail their own safety protocols. So I believe it was I personally believe it was 100% reflective of this Mattel Recall with their projecting missiles from this Battlestar range. So I think that definitely influenced it, and Kenner just didn't want a lawsuit happening. And rightly so. It would have cost them a lot of money, and I don't know, I'm not sure how much hate they copped for it at the end of it. End of the day, it was one figure. That was at the time there were 20 figures released. Boba Fett was to be the 21st. You went on to get 96 figures out, didn't you? With the two R2s and how many vehicles, 12-inch line. Like it's not like the Star Wars 3.75-inch range or toy franchise was suffered whatsoever. It didn't really. I'm pretty sure it recovered quite well to be, quite historic really, and the numbers of toys sold was unreal. So yeah, they moved on, fortunately. But they did also try, see the L shape, I believe they tried the J. I'll get both different rocket firing Fett's images up, but initially it was an L slot. An L slot meant that the firing mechanism would come down. Hopefully this makes sense with the picture up in the corner, because I'm just talking to a wall here. The firing mechanism that pulls down just comes down and it's a hole and just pulls over to the side. But they were saying that because it just needed to be flicked, it wasn't quite safe. So say if you've got a projectile missile there and the slot's just pushed to the side, all it takes is for you to flick into that, and you might not be ready, and you got a rock in the eye or up the nose, or God knows where, down the throat. The other poor kid did. So they tried to change it to a J slot, and I'll have that on the screen as well. So the J slot was you bring the mechanism around and then around a little circle. But then with prototypes, they had that little section which formed the J, the little gap in the J, that it went around was quite flimsy and would snap off. And I think it was also a hazard in itself, but once it broke, it rendered it useless, and it was probably just as weak, if not weaker, than an L slot. So that was not a viable solution as well. That was part of their internal testing, I believe. That's why there's different examples of J slot, L slot, Boba Fett's. Those terms are thrown around quite frequently with big Boba Fett collectors and pre-production people. That's not really my realm, but obviously I know a bit about it, and it's just fascinating to see what never became and what could have been, and the what ifs. So that's it, guys. I just thought I'd do a quick video. I don't often get Battlestar stuff, and when I do, I really like them because the history behind it. But I actually like the show, and I actually think these toys are magnificent. You don't see them that often. The Cylon Raid is gorgeous, like a little cool UFO. All of the colonial vehicles are beautiful. They detach, and you can change them. So if you've got the Viper, you can put its tail on the head and the head on the tail, blah blah blah, and cross them over. So it's really, really cool. They're bloody cool vehicles. Anyway, that's the history and the story behind that rocket firing Fett, the legend that never made it to shelves, never made it into our lives, and we are bound to only see the ones that are going for record prices. But at least we can laugh and watch these prices and think, who the hell's got $2 million, Australian, to buy a 3.75-inch action figure? It's insane. All because of how it didn't become. It's unreal. But that's the world of pre-production items and prototypes. Unfortunately, I don't really have my toe in that circle. It's pretty exclusive. It's a very exclusive circle. But this is the way, and probably the most mainstream prototype pre-production Star Wars item, I'd say, because it's so so prevalent, and Boba Fett being so big, and it was so marketed, and then it didn't happen. So there's a lot of pre-production items out there. I'd like to get more content on that, but it's just impossible to get the actual images and the toys themselves for it. I would love to, but hey, if you've got some pre-production items, you're a prototype expert, first shot, hard copy, all that kind of stuff, get in touch with me. You want to be interviewed, I'd love to talk to you, because my knowledge on that is not as extensive, and I'm always wanting to know more, and I'd love to push a lot of some of that information out into the wild like this. I know a lot of that prototype world is exclusive to a circle of collectors, and a lot of it never goes on sale publicly, and rightly so. It's big dollars, but I'd love to get some more of that information and stories. So anyone out there who wants to share that with me, feel free to contact me, message me here, or email me. I'll put my email in the description. I love to get those stories out there. They're fascinating items, and it's toy history, aren't they? And a lot of it is unknown. This one, a lot of people knew this. I'm sure I'm not the first person to tell the story on YouTube or anywhere online, but I haven't had one of these for about 3 years. And I think the last time I had it, I didn't really have a YouTube channel going, so I didn't get a chance to put it up there for myself or my my followers and my customers, etc. So hopefully this says, surely there's one person that didn't know this. If I show one person, hey, it's good for a laugh, and I get to talk about it and play with a Battlestar toy, man. So everyone wins, really, right? So thanks a lot, guys. So much content coming my way, coming your way from my stuff that I got coming through. Like I said, anytime I get something cool through, a bit of history or worth the story, I'll definitely put it up for you guys. I find this super fascinating. I can't be the only lunatic out there that loves this stuff as much as well, as much as me, can I? Like, surely there's someone else as crazy as me. Actually, I met one the other day, Tony Roberts, man. He was a nutter. He loves his toys. I think he can yap on probably with the best of them. If you haven't checked out that video of me and Tony Roberts having a yarn and talking toys and origins, how we got into toys and stuff like that, check it out. I'll link it at the end of this video or up here or whatever. Check it out. It's a bit of a laugh, and man, he's a geezer and a half. He knows his toys, and he's very passionate about it. He's definitely a lot like me. So thanks a lot, guys. Like I said, keep them coming, man. Keep watching, because I'll keep them coming.